that our purpose on this program is to uplift, educate, and reclaim the minds of our children. Our young people are killing themselves at an alarming rate, both physically, mentally, and spiritually. We need to grasp their minds and their imaginations and their ways of thinking as soon as possible, because at the moment we're at the conjunction road of thus losing them altogether, or us reclaiming our community through way of possibly maybe even the church, because the church has a certain responsibility for our community also. Our churches seem to lack the power of community within itself, so whereas it could be a safe haven. We have a sign on the church, thanks to our government now, that the church and fire departments and hospitals and things like that are safe havens where young mothers can drop their babies off, providing the baby isn't no more than 24 years old. The important thing to know about that is that a safe haven is more than just a place to drop off your child when you don't want it. The safe haven should be the place where the children as well as the adults feel a sense of safety. It should be a safety net. It should be a place where you come, where you can be yourself and you are welcome, you are accepted, and you are made to feel like you matter. The church in this particular incident has dropped the ball on this subject. Our community need to pick the ball up. The church has gotten so far corrupted with the scandalous incidences over the past several years that we can no longer depend on, and we need to stop looking for leaders. Everybody under the sound of my voice has the power and the ability to lead given to you by the Almighty. We've had leaders in the past that have led us to the door, that has led us down the right road, has given us certain philosophies to follow in life, whereas we could uplift ourselves. Nowadays, we find that we're looking for someone to uplift our black community when we have the power to do it. We're looking for someone to lead us to heaven when heaven is right here on earth where we are. We just need to first grasp the minds of our children. Our children have no more respect, and it's basically all due to a lack of self-knowledge of self. This is our problem. Children, our young people, are standing in their neighborhoods, selling dope, doing dope, prostituting, breaking into your own community stores, and they consider that their property. They stand on the corner saying, this is my property, but they don't own anything. Here's one of the solutions that we think that could possibly re-grab the minds of our children. Teach them a trade. Teach them the carpentry, the masonry, bricklaying. Put them with the people who already know this skill. And then you take those children, you put them back into the community. And all of these abandoned buildings, all of these abandoned warehouses, all of these abandoned stores, rehab those stores, fix them up, resell them, or move into them themselves. And therefore, we begin to rebuild our community. We begin to come together as we work together. Prayer is the key to God's kingdom. We need to begin to learn how to pray for our children. Teach your children how to pray. Prayer is not only just appropriate at the dinner table. Prayer is not only just appropriate at church. Prayer is not only just appropriate when you kneel down right before you go to bed. Prayer should be an everyday ritual in all of our lives, especially if you are a young parent. That's not to say that some people don't need God more than others, but young parents seem to have it to the point to where they need it more than the rest of us. We had a show recently called Manufactured Children and Manufactured Education. If there was a title for this show, which I believe we will call it, Who Owns the Warehouse? I'm here to tell you God owns the warehouse. Everything in it, everything of it, everything around it, and everything that is made about it. We need to come to the understanding that the warehouse where these young girls are spitting out babies like Toyotas every week, every month, every year. The other side of the coin is the young boys who have lost respect for themselves. They don't have a knowledge of who they are, where they come from, and where they should be headed. As a consequence of that, they have no problem with taking a life. This past week, there was a devastating story in the news about a young man over in Iraq. He was a retired police officer, spent 3 years or so over in Iraq. No one got a chance to get to this man. Al Qaeda didn't get him. Osama bin Laden didn't get him. He made it through the war and made it back home without a scar. Went to show his mother and father on, I think he was at home maybe 3 nights or so. Went to show his mother and father the motorcycle that he had bought. Stepping outside of his mother and father's house after the visit was over, he was accosted by 3 young men. I believe the oldest one was 25, 26 years old. Young men. They attempted to try to rob him of his motorcycle. A fight ensued, guns were drawn, people wind up dead, including the young soldier. Here's a young black man who had gotten his life together. Probably never had a problem in his life. In any case, we look up to the athletes for the role models. We look up to the music stars for role models. Beyonce and Jay-Z and Lil Wayne and Michael Jackson, God rest his soul. But the problem is when we find a young man such as this, who has set an example for all other young people to go off and do something with your life. Your life is not to be put in your pocket and to be called yours. If you have a talent, it's to be shared with the world. If you have a spirit, which we all have, it's to be shared with the world to help someone else. God bless that man and his family, because the young man that shot him, the young men that accosted him and tried to rob him, it was only because they didn't have a sense of self. They did not realize that as they took that young man's life, they took a part of their own lives, not just for going to jail, but our young people really need to understand that we will not come together until we realize that each of us are a link in a chain. The link in the chain that holds us together. The chain as a whole is God's body. The chain is made up of each one of us, including these young girls that are having these babies. The title today is Who Owns the Warehouse? Well, we all are in the warehouse, but the warehouse is owned by the Creator. He gives us the choice to do whatever we choose to do. He wishes for us to serve him. He wishes for us to praise him, but he's not going to force us. The main thing is he sent his son down, Jesus Christ, to give us a choice. Young girls, you have a choice when you lay down with that young boy without a condom. Young boy, you have a choice that when you get that young girl pregnant, to stand as an upstanding black young man and a father. A father. A father. What a powerful word. But it is more easier to become a father than it is to be one. It is more easier to become a parent than it is to be one. It requires discipline. It requires the understanding of God and his principles. Who owns the warehouse? Let us get out of the warehouse. Let us get out of under the mind of the mentality that we are in a warehouse and the Caucasian people, or the government, as I like to call them, has us trapped in the inner cities, whereas all we're doing is killing each other, disrespecting our young ladies, disrespecting our own parenting, disrespecting our upbringing, and as a result, we're disrespecting ourselves. Let us come together in our minds to whereas when we see one black man, we're looking at a reflection of ourselves. And therefore, we will eventually make a key of love that will unlock the door to this warehouse where we all can once again be free and be a community and be a family. Every one of us is a part of one family. We thank you for your comments. Continue to come back. Next week, we'll be right back at you, right back in your ear, right back in your face. Thank you, peace, and love. I'm Brother Melvin. Thank you.